Uber driving has really changed the wiring within my brain. And I just got to share with you. Hi, my name is Levi Spires, and this is the Tip You in the App Daily Drive podcast. The Daily Drive podcast is brought to you by the GigU app. What do I mean by change the wiring within my brain? Now remember, this is a podcast, and I'm going to try to give it to you as raw and unedited as possible. There's a couple of things that's changed. Number one thing, or the first thing, maybe not the number one thing, the first thing that's changed is I'm definitely more tied to my phone now. I was in a restaurant picking up Uber Eats, and I heard the Uber app go off, and I look at my phone, and it was somebody else's phone. I'm definitely like Pavlov's dog. I am more. It's like a gambling app, and that's a negative thing. But that's not the thing I want to talk to you about. The other thing that Uber has done to change and rewire my brain is that I now have time to think. Let me explain. In my previous life, as when I was in the Air Force as an accountant and did all that work, then when I got into the world of entrepreneurship and running businesses, that type of work, those jobs consumed all of my mental energy. While they weren't physically demanding, I mean, there were times in the military it was kind of physically demanding, but it was mentally draining. And then worse, when I got off of work, it's like I never really stopped thinking about it. A good example would be like my last job. I had a report to give to my boss, whatever. I would think about that for weeks, and that would be the only thing I could think about. And that probably why I was good at my job. But it was like emails and text messages for work and employees and bosses and clients and vendors. It just all, you never stop thinking about it. In fact, the guy I used to work with, my boss, Paul Daly, we learned this thing at another company. It was called main event thinking. Let me explain it to you. The main event. When you hire creative people, especially in the world of marketing and advertising, let's say they're a really good artist or a really good writer. And what makes them really good artists is you can see them draw anime characters, or they're really good with colors, or if they're a really good writer, maybe they're really good at poetry or something like that. Well, that creative skill set works really well to create good ads, marketing material and things like that. But it's not where their real heart or their real passion is. Obviously, if you're a poet, you might be really good with words, but you don't want to write jingles for McDonald's. Nothing against McDonald's, but whatever. How about that CEO eating the burger? So what we call it main event thinking. What we wanted that poet to spend all of their mental energy on our creative work that we're paying them for. And we didn't want them to have side projects, passion projects on their own that took more of their mental energy. We're paying you a lot of money as a poet to write jingles. And I'm making this up here. And we wanted all of your mental energy to be focused on that. We called it main event thinking. And it works well when you're an executive or a manager like me. There was not like you have to work on emails or reports outside of work, but it just consumed all of my mind. Now, today, 6 years later, after leaving my job, being an Uber driver, I realize that thing, having access to all of my mental energy capacity, has been the biggest benefit of being an Uber driver. It's probably the biggest benefit of any low mental energy task job, digging ditches. I don't know. Working at McDonald's. I don't know. I'm not trying to belittle them or whatever, but when you're an Uber driver, when I'm not Uber driving, I don't have to think about it. Which goes to that other mental thing is that's why it's important for me to put my phone away and far away from me when I'm not working, because that phone I'm looking at right there, and that's the thing I use to record all of my podcasts. It's when it is near me, I'm tempted to swipe open the Uber app. Are there surges where I'm not driving, as if it matters, or are there new reservations out there I need to be getting? And that's the bad part about it. But as long as my phone is not near me, I don't think about Uber driving. I don't think about past rides. I took 6 rides today. One ride stood out to me. I'm going to talk about that one later. But the other 6 rides, I don't think about them. They go away. Now, if that passenger gets back in my car, that will rekindle things. And I remember them. I can recall them, so I'm not forgetting them. But they're just not in my RAM in the front of my brain, right? If you're familiar with how computers work, it's like you have the deep memory, your hard drive in the back, and the RAM, random access memory, in the front, and you're always accessing that. Yeah, then my my random access memory has never been freer, and that's been a beautiful thing. I have time to think. When I go on walks, I think about amazing things. I don't think about work. I think having access to more of my mental capacity has been able to free me up to write more, create more. And I think the ultimate thing, the reason why the passenger stories connect and resonate so well with me is because when they're in the car, I can focus solely on them. My mind's not on anything else. And if that story resonates with me, it now it stirs in me. Before, if I were to go to, I don't know, let's go say I go to my favorite coffee shop and I order a coffee. And I care about the people that I order the coffee from at my local coffee shop, and I know them all, but their stories don't resonate with me because my mind is on something else. Da, 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 da. But now that my mind is not all over the place, now it's like I have freedom in my mind. I can think about them, and I can think and have compassion and empathy and connect in a meaningful way with the passengers in my car. And I know it seems really trivial because you're like, they're in the car for 10 minutes, Levi. You don't even know them. And it's true, I don't. But I just have access to that part of my brain now. And I just didn't have it before. I remember when I used to get into an Uber, I'm kind of like one of those people, none of us like to drive. There were times I'd pretend to be on the phone just so I don't have to talk to the driver. I'd have my earbuds in, like, yeah, Levi. And I would just pretend to be on the phone just because I didn't want to talk to him because I wasn't able to consume it. There's a book over here. It's called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And it's been a great book. I've had it for about a year now, and I've read it a couple different times. But he talks about like our bodies being a container and a vessel, and we need to consume things, put stuff into our vessel, and then put stuff out. Is basically the way he says it. And I'm misquoting Rick, but Rick was the kind of guy who wouldn't care if I misquote him. But so you go to an art museum and you consume art, and then when it's time to produce, you produce art. That's what's happening in my life being an Uber driver. I go out and I Uber drive and I fill up my mind with stories, and then I'm able to put them out into the world. And I did that today. I went down and I wrote for about an hour about a story, and I'll share that with you in a second. But I would never, ever be able to do that when I worked my old job. My old job just consumed all of my mental energy. It was my main event thinking. And that's why they pay you more. So I made more money as an accountant, but my life wasn't as satiating as it is now. So I'm making that trade-off of money. I make less money as an Uber driver to have more access to my brain, and having more access to my brain to produce things like this channel, content here, writing, whatever it is, it made my life better. So that's, I just realized that here I have been driving for 6 years, and I would say like connecting with people is the best part of the job. And I still think it is to some extent, but I was never able to articulate why. Because there's people all around me all the time, no matter what my old job or whatever it is. But now I understand why. It's because I have the mental capacity to actually fully engage with them in a meaningful way, even for a short period of time, and then find ways to absorb that and then express it back out. I don't know. What's the best part of the job for you? What do you think? Is that too is that too deep? I don't know. I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect. Let me tell you about Red Tiger. Red Tiger is a sponsor of this channel. Red Tiger is a camera manufacturer. They produce dash cameras, and they've been a sponsor of the channel for some time now. I love their cameras. I used to have other cameras and other manufacturers, and they were good, but not as good as Red Tiger. And it's not because Red Tiger is a sponsor that I'm saying this. I found Red Tiger first, and then once I started using their camera, that's when they finally reached out to me. So here's what I like about Red Tiger. Red Tiger has a camera in my car, the F-17 Elite, that records color at night. And that seems like a small thing. But for me, as a content producer and as an Uber driver, I'd rather see things in color. It gives better context than black and white. I know a lot of dash cameras produce things in black and white, and, the infrared look, but it doesn't. But another thing is a lot of cars, like my Tesla, has an infrared camera already in the car, and it messes with the infrared camera in dash cameras, but not the Red Tiger color. It works perfect. The F-17 Elite, it just works perfect. That Red Tiger has cameras that can do whatever you need. Whether they have a camera that has out the front of the car, inside the dash, then mounted on the back. It points out the back of the car, and then even the fourth camera points into the cabin of the car from the back. And as an Uber driver, how great is that? The safety and security that there's a camera pointing over the shoulder of the passenger. So not only do you get to see the passenger this way, but you can see the passenger this way. I'm just really glad to have a relationship with Red Tiger. They have some links in the description and in the comments that you can get discounts both at Amazon and at their website. Click on the one for their website. They measure me as a content producer on who goes there. But again, you can get discounts if you go and click on those links in the description. Red Tiger, they're great cameras. I'm super happy with them, and I really recommend you check them out. Now, let's talk about this ride that I had today. It was great. It's having a ride like this. It makes Uber driving. It just, again, it's like when my Tesla battery goes down as I drive, my personal energy goes up. It's a ride like this that enthuses me to it, and it inspires me. I went to go pick her up at a warehouse, and she came out waving, smiling, like she knew who I was. She was just a very kind, nice person, and I liked that. She was getting off of work, and it was early in the morning, so she had worked the night shift. And we just talk, normal small talk kind of thing. And for whatever reason, I think we saw like a homeless person or something like that. But she was like, I used to live behind a dumpster. And she went on to tell me about her, she's already passed her second year of sobriety. Now she's working on her third year. And she moved to the city of Syracuse to escape her previous life. And she's working 2 jobs. She's trying to work a third, maybe. Just things to keep her mind occupied. Ironically, thinking about what we just talked about, right? And I love being around people like that. People that have had adversity and are overcoming it. And they don't wear it on their sleeve as this burden of life. She didn't come across as somebody who's like, woe is me, this is really hard. She was just a really nice and kind, fun person to talk with. It was only like a 7-10 minute ride too. But it's a ride like that that sparks something within me for the whole week. That's why as soon as I had a chance. I dropped my car off to get the safety inspection done. I went to the coffee shop by the repair shop, and I just wrote. I got a chance to write a quick little story about it, and I love that. I love that. Do you meet people like that too as a driver out there on the streets? I know I do. And you get one, two, three, four a week, maybe one a day. I don't know what the right number is. Every passenger is something interesting to me. I had some other stories today that I could have wrote about, but this one, I love being inspired. And we as a society get inspired by greatness, a Tom Brady or Michael Jordan. I'm picking them out. Barack Obama or Donald Trump, whoever, whatever you think is a great person, big in society, Oprah, whatever, and big names, movie stars, Tom Cruise, whatever. Um, but I love that each and every one of us, we're all. I believe as a Christian that we're all made in God's image, and God is great and holy. And so to see individuals where that spark, and I don't know her faith, I don't know if she's a Christian enough, but it's like she's great too. She doesn't have the platform to like an Elon Musk or whatever, but she's great too in her own way. She's special, and that stuff, man, I live for that. And now that I'm not consumed with accounting reports, I can I can really just spend my time thinking about those stories and those people, and I love that. Um, Before I get to your questions, I want to do a quick shout out to GigU. Again, GigU is the headliner sponsor, the exclusive sponsor. I don't know if they're exclusive, I guess, because Redtiger and some other brands are sponsors, but GigU, they helped me put this podcast together and sponsor it, and I'm so grateful to them. It's a great app. I'm going to read a comment to you here that I saw. This guy said, he asked, see here, sorry. He goes, interesting. Uber driver OKC says, as an Uber driver with 4,000 rides, I always decide very quickly if I'll take a ride based on a few things, where it's located, 5 to 8 minutes. Does the total drive time equate to my desired $30 per hour? And he's like calculating all these things. And I'm thinking like, that's what GigU does. If there was one thing that I struggled with, even with my accounting and economics background in grad school and everything, I still struggle to try to calculate the value of that ride. And I know we all think we're really good at it, but the thing I really want to focus on is, do I want to go to that location? Do I, stay in this area or whatever? And so when I see the ride and the numbers, it just throws me off, especially when they start throwing things out like a priority or surge or whatever. Now with GigU, it just does all the calculation for me. It tells me right up there in advance. It says, hey, this ride's worth it or it's not. And I can set the parameters based on my cost per mile, whatever. Okay, this ride is worth it, yes or no. That's great. I love that. And so check out GigU, download it. No, it's not for iPhone yet. I'm sure they're working on it. I haven't talked to them about it. But I got an Android phone and it's been great. I'm super happy with it. So not Android, but I'm happy that I have GigU. Android's been tough because everything else I have, my watch, my computer, my phone, my AirPods, everything's Apple. So I got my iPad. I have an iPad over here that I use to take notes. So to get an Android into that ecosystem is a learning curve, but I figured it out. Let's jump into your questions. ATX News TV. Whew. He says, why are you driving a $45,000 car to do Uber X? Great question. Well, first of all, my car is not 45,000. I bought my car for 36,000. So the numbers are off a little bit. Number one is I bought a Tesla that I got a lot of bonuses for. In fact, I got a $2,000 bonus to buy it. Then I got another about $4,000 worth of bonuses after I purchased it. So I got it for about 30,000 after the bonuses. I like Tesla. And then probably the best answer is, yeah, I like Tesla. I always recommend you buy the car that you like to drive, because you don't know what Uber is going to do. So I didn't buy a Tesla explicitly to be an Uber driver. I bought a Tesla because there were some great discounts. There were the tax advantages, there were bonuses, whatever. And I always wanted a Tesla, so I had an opportunity to get one. if I had to go out and buy a car explicitly to do Uber, I'd probably buy the cheapest Toyota Prius I could find. But I buy a car because my wife needs a car and I need a car. And so I'm going to drive a Tesla. And now I still have my Prius. But, so I have a Prius and a Tesla here at my house. But I buy a car because that's the car that I want. So that's why I drive a $45,000 car. Michael 8044 says, why is the gig going away? Now that's a part of me being very pessimistic, cynical, doom and gloom. That's my nature sometimes when it comes to things like AI, autonomous cars. On one hand, I'm fascinated by AI and what the world could be, but I'm a doomer sometimes when it comes to it. So I fully believe that Uber, Lyft, Zoox, Waymo, Tesla, their whole mission is to have autonomous cars be the main, if not the only vehicle that Americans or humans can ride in. So that's why the gig is going away. Now, when is it going to happen? So we could debate if it's going to happen, but I think it's logical that they're building hundreds of thousands. Tesla's going to build millions of robotaxi cars. At some point in time in the future, it's just going to be so cheap to have a robotic car come get you that people are not going to pay for humans to drive them. Now, when is that going to happen? I don't know. 5, 10 years. It depends on what market you're in. So that's why the gig is going away. I could be wrong, but when you get people like, Tesla and Google, these mega businesses, NVIDIA, whatever it is, Amazon with Zoox, they're all these major corporations, $1 trillion businesses. They're coming into our industry and there's not much we can do to stop it. So I'm just preparing mentally, being pessimistic, saying, I think it's going to end. And so I start planning on it. Final question from GigTube. Hey, shout out GigTube, by the way. Thank you so much, man. Again, I love that channel. And so that's good. It's one of the first YouTube channels that I actually followed when I got into this gig. Is this show available as an audio podcast? I can't find it on my Podcatcher Overcast. I don't know what that is. I do publish it on YouTube. So this podcast, as you can see, is published here. You can listen to it on YouTube Music, I believe, through audio only too. Or if you're a YouTube Premium member, you can turn the screen off and listen to this. You can also find the podcast on Spotify and Apple Music and X. I publish it in those locations too. So, and so Spotify, and YouTube or iTunes is released as, or Apple Podcasts, it's released as a video and an audio podcast. So if you want to listen to this podcast, that's how to do it. I have gestures so you can see my hands moving. For those of you who are listening, I'm using my hands and I do put things on the screen, but I call this a podcast because I'm really thinking about the audio side to this. I know some people will be like, get a better microphone. Sorry for those listening. If you're listening on headphones, sorry about that. Maybe I like the way this is set up though. So, but yeah, that's where this podcast is. Drivers for 2026. I know I want to have a lot more fun and enjoy the ride. And so as I'm getting out there and driving, not only am I thinking about how much money I can make, but I'm thinking like, is that going to be a fun ride? If that makes any sense. Like, it's hard to describe that. Like I try to go to new places and experiment more, I guess would be a better way to say it. I try not to let the gig bring me down, I guess. But for 2026, I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're happy. I hope you're making good money. I really do. But I want you to know that I'm cheering for you. Be well, be safe. Bye.